2021 may be remembered as the year civilization crossed the tipping point for electric mobility, and I couldn't be more excited about that. Join me as we revisit what I view as the most historic electrification advancements of the year in 10 crucial categories. For me, the biggest story of the year is the official commitment of automakers to an all-electric future. Many manufacturers have talked about adding electric products, but the commitment to outright cease internal combustion production is what I'd like to highlight for 2021. By 2025, Jaguar, Mercedes, Lexus, and Genesis claim their new models will be all electric. Audi has committed to the same by 2026. Within the decade, Fiat, Alfa Romeo, Volvo, Mini, Bentley, and Rolls-Royce will all be fully electric brands. My pick for a dark horse among the legacy automakers may well be the Hyundai family of products, including Kia and Genesis. They build an incredible product, understand demographic targeting with EVs, and invest aggressively. Hyundai closed their combustion engine research facilities in the final week of 2021. To me, that commitment is more meaningful than the rollout of concept cars and corporate roadmaps. While late to the party, established U.S. automakers seem to be getting serious about EVs too. Cadillac was the first this year to commit to producing all-electric vehicles for all of their new models, starting immediately. That's right, every new Cadillac made from now on will be an EV. Their parent company, General Motors CEO Mary Barra, said they'll phase out all combustion engine production completely by 2035. Ford has committed to selling only electric passenger cars in Europe by 2030, but as far as their plans in the US go, they believe EV sales will comprise 40 to 50% of their total sales by 2030. My friends and family commonly tell me that they expect their next vehicle purchase will be an EV. Headlines are focused on supply chain problems, but market demand and public policy are pushing automakers towards solutions. The second electrification category which stands out for me in 2021 is related to the supply chain. Let's talk about the significant investments in U.S. battery manufacturing. The American Southeastern region seems to be getting a lot of this attention. GM has announced a $2.3 billion investment towards a second battery manufacturing facility in Spring Hill, Tennessee, which will start production in late 2023. Municipal documents reveal a potential third in Lansing, Michigan, which adds $2.5 billion to their commitment and will begin production in 2025. Upping the ante, Ford's $7 billion investment is the largest ever made at one time by any manufacturer in history of the United States, and it's all centered around electrification. Ford unveiled their Blue Oval City 3,600-acre campus in Tennessee with 3 supporting battery manufacturing plants in partnership with Korean chemical giant SK Innovation. One plant will be built in Tennessee and the other 2 in Kentucky. All 3 facilities will begin production in 2025 in support of Ford and Lincoln vehicles. Stellantis has also announced plans for 2 North American battery manufacturing facilities in partnership with Korean chemical companies. One will be built with partner LG Energy Solutions, with groundbreaking in 2022 and battery production starting in 2024. This plant will have an annual capacity of 40 gigawatt hours. The second facility will be with Samsung SDI, with battery production launching in 2025. This plant will support 23 gigawatt hours annually, with the ability to increase up to 40 gigawatt hours in the future. The locations of these factories have not yet been announced. Toyota finally unveiled plans to invest $1.29 billion towards a battery plant in North Carolina, with production beginning in 2025. Proterra, an electric bus company, announced their 3rd battery factory, and its first on the East Coast. They said the $76 million investment will be up and running in South Carolina by the end of 2022. In a large EV strategy announcement in the summer, Mercedes-Benz said they would build 8 new battery facilities, with one of them being constructed in the U.S. near an existing assembly facility. They currently operate a factory in Alabama. Many of the headlines have focused on the job creation for this region, which is absolutely good news. I'm equally as thrilled about the rethinking of production methodology these new facilities are embracing. For example, Ford has partnered with Redwood Materials, which takes in batteries at the end of life and breaks them down into their raw materials for remanufacturing. The invention of a truly circular supply chain will revolutionize mobility manufacturing and reduce pressure on raw materials mining industries. We are working on a segment which explores the unsung generational benefits of a closed loop for energy storage and production. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to be notified when that one goes live. My annual Rewind segment last year focused on the electrified stock bonanza. Well, that boom hasn't slowed down. I've got to talk about the influx of capital we saw in 2021. Automakers, charging infrastructure companies, and commercial delivery-related businesses just kept coming. Adventure-focused electric truck pioneer Rivian staged the largest initial public offering since Facebook back in 2012. Pre-IPO investment by titans including Amazon and Ford certainly helped to raise the profile. By the end of this year, Rivian's market cap of over $90 billion was about 10% greater than Ford's. By the end of 2021, Rivian had delivered about 500 vehicles, mostly to employees. Mergers with special purpose acquisition companies, or SPACs, continued to on-ramp electrification startups to public shareholder markets. Lucid was one of them, with an end-of-year valuation well over $60 billion, despite having delivered fewer than 500 vehicles. Many of the newly listed companies have not yet delivered a product. Among those, Faraday Future valued at $1.6 billion, Canoo at $1.9 billion, and Mullen at $115 million. Charging infrastructure companies including EVgo, ChargePoint, and Volta Charging also became publicly traded this year. Promising commercial delivery EV manufacturers including Arrival, Proterra, Lightning eMotors, Re Automotive, and Electric Last Mile Solutions have freshly minted stock tickers too. Tesla continued to outpace the market, expanding to a valuation in excess of $1 trillion. For perspective, that is greater than all of its competitors combined. Of course, Tesla's revenue streams expand well beyond selling automobiles, so it's not exactly an apples-to-apples comparison. US-traded Chinese automakers including Li Auto, NIO, and XPeng gained mightily in 2021 in concert with their rapid growth overseas. Speculation that these automakers will begin exporting to North America soon has grown louder each day. During the fourth quarter of 2021, publicly traded EV market cap crested $1.5 trillion, surpassing the $1.4 trillion valuation of all traditional automakers. I'd point to this as another example of how 2021 will be remembered as pivotal. Many Americans have not yet considered an EV due to the lack of choice and variety. Finally, in 2021, we saw EVs enter production in many new segments, appealing to much wider audiences. This fourth category covers the brand new EVs which hit the market in 2021. There was no shortage of new luxury electric sedans. The Audi e-tron GT made its debut as the younger brother to the successful Porsche Taycan. I recently filmed an on-road review segment with it. I'll have that edited and released soon. Mercedes launched their EQ sub-brand and began selling an electric alternative to the S-Class, called the EQS. Widespread reports of $10,000 to $50,000 dealer markups have contributed to a shaky start for EQ in the United States. But the product is outstanding. It boasts an EPA range of 350 miles, and it's the quietest vehicle I've ever driven. The Lucid Air Dream Edition exceeded their own lofty projections with a record-breaking 520-mile EPA range. With an initial MSRP of $170,000, the audience is limited. The Model S Plaid started blowing minds with its 1.9-second 0 to 60 time. I experienced the launch myself recently, and it was disturbingly fast. The materials, soundproofing, and overall build quality of the new version is much improved from my Tesla Model S. It's hard to imagine that a full-size family sedan now crushes every production supercar ever made. Multi-million-dollar legends like the McLaren P1 can do it in 2.5 seconds. The Bugatti Chiron Pure Sport 0 to 60 figure is 2.2 seconds. For those who want speed, the $130,000 MSRP of the Model S Plaid seems like a bargain. Now, how about the fastest growing segment in the United States, the small crossover? I was fairly impressed with VW's new ID4. Check out my review here. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 has been a critical darling, and I'm excited to get behind the wheel of it myself. Both crossovers debuted with compelling sub-$30,000 price tags after the federal tax incentives. Sizing up a bit, the premium R1S by Rivian just barely squeaked in at the end of the year and started deliveries to their CEO and CFO. The shipping industry currently contributes approximately 2 to 3% of global carbon emissions. Going electric is a great way to reduce the impact, and fleet companies like the low cost of ownership. Electric Last Mile Solutions began production and deliveries of their Class 1 urban delivery van. GM's BrightDrop brand delivered its first 5 of 500 EV600 vans to FedEx. In my view, the most important hurdle we face for EV adoption in the US is pickup truck dominance. While over 1 million reservation holders wait for Ford's F-150 Lightning and Tesla's Cybertruck, some serious contenders hit the streets in 2021. The Rivian R1T debuted to critical acclaim, winning Motor Trend's Truck of the Year and Edmunds' top pick. Although the vast majority of deliveries were to employees, seeing electric trucks on the road is a significant milestone to mainstream electric adoption. Its hauling, off-road, and outdoor lifestyle capabilities are extraordinary. The GMC Hummer EV also rolled off the line before the end of the year. Coined the world's first electric supertruck, the 9,000-pound Hummer EV can hit 60 miles per hour in as little as 3 seconds. I was impressed by the build quality when I saw it in person. I believe we need a viable electric work truck in the United States. Neither the Rivian nor the Hummer are really built for that. That brings us to the fifth category. Let's have a look at 2021's official announcements for EVs slated to actually enter production in 2022. Some of these launches may not go as planned, but this may be the first year in which concrete commitments for near-term production outnumber one-off prototypes and CAD renderings. This is a long list, so I'll try to make it quick. In the crossover SUV segment, reveals include Volkswagen's ID.5, Kia's EV6, Toyota's BZ4X, and Subaru's Solterra. The Nissan Ariya announced in 2020 didn't hit the target this year, but Nissan says it will be available in 2022. In the luxury or premium crossover SUV segment, Mercedes EQ will launch the EQA, EQB, and EQS SUV. Geely brands with SUVs coming include Lotus with the Type 132, the Polestar 3, and Volvo's XC90 EV. Cadillac will begin delivering the Lyriq, and Genesis will try for another Motor Trend SUV of the Year award with the GV70 Electric and GV60. BMW will bring the iX to America, and Audi will answer with the new Q6 e-tron. Lastly, Maserati will produce the Grecale Folgore. Of course, there will be some sedans. Among them, the Hyundai Ioniq 6, BMW i4 and i7, Genesis G80 Electrified, and the Mercedes EQE. As I mentioned earlier, the work trucks are set to move the needle in America. Ford's F-150 Lightning may well be the most anticipated vehicle coming in 2022. As the best-selling vehicle in the US over the last 40-plus years, an all-electric F-Series done right will make EV converts out of a wide demographic this movement has not yet reached. If things go according to plan, the F-150 Lightning will share the spotlight with the previously announced Tesla Cybertruck, which has been delayed to 2022. The Cybertruck is far from every man's work truck, touting revolutionary manufacturing methods, exotic materials for unprecedented durability, next-generation onboard computational hardware, and a polarizing aesthetic. Finally, some EV startups which promise to produce their first vehicles in 2022 include Fisker's Ocean, Canoo's Lifestyle Vehicle, Lordstown's Endurance, Bollinger's B1 and 2, and 5 years after its debut, Faraday Future's FF91. Persistent public health concerns continue to put a damper on public gatherings in 2021. But we did see a normalization of electric mobility throughout. In the spring, the Amelia Island Concorde d'Elegance welcomed guests to see the array of classic cars and new vehicles of today and tomorrow. I was overwhelmed with the amount of classic EVs they had on display, and it was a thrill to talk with their owners. The event also featured several automakers, most of which were promoting EVs. The Lucid Air, VW ID4, Mini Cooper SE Electric, Cadillac Lyriq, Hummer EV pickup and SUV, Ford Mustang Mach-E, Porsche Taycan, and Bollinger B2 were all swarmed with classic car enthusiasts. Check out my coverage of that event right here. A new touring event series offered guests the opportunity to view and experience electric cars, autocycles, motorcycles, scooters, boards, boats, and plenty more. The Electrify Expo hosted their inaugural event in Orange County, California, then in Miami, Florida, and Austin, Texas. Many electric vehicles and products are not available anywhere for demonstration, and this outdoor show made it possible to compare online-only or low inventory options before making a purchase decision. My producer Tim attended in Austin, and he was impressed. I'm looking forward to seeing the Electrify Expo for myself in 2022. One of my favorite events of 2021 was Autopia 2099. The show was designed to bring together restoration and conversion car culture with the electric era. A few highlights I saw at the show were a Honda S2000 EV conversion, a classic VW bus EV, and an original 2002 Toyota RAV4 EV. Let me know in the comments what e-mobility related events you think I should check out in 2022. Enough about cars. For now. Americans just couldn't get enough of e-bikes in 2021, and that's my 7th category defining the year in e-mobility. According to the NPD Group, e-bike revenue grew nearly 50% year over year. E-bikes became a $741 million industry. Direct sales dominate this sector, with over 400 companies pedaling like crazy to satisfy the demand. About 1 million units were delivered this year, but analysts predict that number could triple by 2025. Some legislation has been proposed which offers tax incentives for e-bike purchases. That kind of policy could steepen the growth. Companies like UPS and Domino's have already converted some of their fleet to e-bikes in order to deliver their goods in a quick, clean, and efficient way. Personally, I have 3 e-bikes. I love the ability to go further and see more in less time. In many areas, e-bikes can offset plenty of trips in a car, which is not a bad idea. Moving on to number 8, freshly out of bankruptcy, Hertz, a rental car company, announced they plan to purchase 100,000 Tesla vehicles, and it sent shockwaves through multiple industries. Former Ford CEO and interim Hertz CEO Mark Fields said, "Electric vehicles are now mainstream, and we've only just begun to see rising global demand and interest. The new Hertz is going to lead the way as a mobility company, starting with the largest EV rental fleet in North America." At the time, the purchase would have accounted for 20% of Hertz's global fleet. Since then, they've revised upwards, saying they may double the order by 2023, making as many as 150,000 Teslas available to their partner Uber and their drivers. Hertz also said it would install thousands of charging stations across the US and Europe. The plan is to set up level 2 and DC fast charging stations in 65 cities by the end of 2022 and more than 100 cities by the end of 2023. It's important to note Hertz is buying these Tesla Model 3s at retail price, and they're subject to production delays just as any other customer would be. Elon Musk has clarified that Hertz hasn't paid for these vehicles or signed any binding contract to purchase them. Even so, Hertz stock value jumped wildly after the announcement, and Tesla's market cap rocketed hundreds of billions of dollars, despite no theoretical improvement to their bottom line, even if the order had been firm. Tesla was supply limited at the time. Of course, there are some less obvious long-term advantages to Hertz's big leap. If Tesla does achieve full self-driving, Hertz will require dramatically fewer employees to move vehicles around, account for keys, and drive them through the car wash. They will drastically improve in-vehicle utilization with robotaxi deployment when vehicles would otherwise be parked. In the near term, those renting from Hertz who try an electric vehicle for the first time will be much more likely to purchase one, possibly a Tesla. Current Tesla owners will likely gravitate towards Hertz, and their in-vehicle settings and preferences will push to the rental through the Tesla app. All right, number 9 revolves around an unexpected turn in the ultra-luxury and hypercar segment, which is aspirational for most of us. This year, Croatian-based automaker Rimac, a favorite of mine, has agreed to restructure their business in order to take over the historic French brand Bugatti. This move was facilitated by Porsche, which is a Rimac stakeholder. This makes sense when you consider that Volkswagen is the parent company to both Porsche and Bugatti. Welcome, baby Bugatti Rimac, born 2021. Why is Bugatti's transition important? It's the first swift move by a legacy high-performance ultra-luxury brand shifting towards electrification exclusively. Technological innovations developed by this segment eventually trickle down to common automobiles. It will ultimately benefit all of us to have an innovation frontrunner like Rimac close to a major manufacturer like Volkswagen. This move will certainly grant Rimac access to vast new resources, which will improve their stability and output. I'm looking forward to seeing how McLaren, Ferrari, and Lamborghini respond. The final category on this list of electrification milestones in 2021 is, for the second year in a row, government policy. The most newsworthy policy event of the year was the passing of a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. $7.5 billion were directed towards the installation of 500,000 EV charging stations nationwide. $5 billion will go to the states, and $2.5 billion will go to local grants which support charging stations in rural and disadvantaged areas. It will be crucial for publicly funded infrastructure to be intelligently distributed, reliable, and well-maintained in order to ensure consumer confidence. Let's hope this gets done right. This year, 3 states have declared they'll join California with a ban on the sale of new gas-powered vehicles. Washington's ban goes into effect in 2030, followed by New York and Massachusetts in 2035. Several more states are in the early stages of similar legislation, including New Mexico, New Jersey, Hawaii, and Oregon. Several states are also coming together to create regional coalitions to support the growth of the EV market. In particular, the governors of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin are joining forces to build a new network of charging infrastructure. The new plan is called the Regional Electric Vehicle Midwest Coalition, or REV Midwest. This group aims to efficiently and effectively connect each state and help accelerate adoption across the region. Lastly, even though the Build Back Better reconciliation bill stalled with insufficient support, the bill included significant new subsidies for electric cars, motorcycles, and bikes. Reportedly, the bill's objective was to improve affordability and access to e-mobility products. Unusual stipulations related to price points, battery sizes, and labor sources favored 1 or 2 traditional manufacturers while excluding US-based EV automakers. Subsidies can be helpful during tough times or as a launchpad for young sectors. After a decade of momentum building, demand for electric cars, motorcycles, and bikes is high. I wonder if subsidies could pose a malinvestment risk at this stage. We all lose as a society when funding goes to the lagging corporations which invest in political lobbyists instead of research and development. If a version of this bill does eventually pass, I certainly hope it's designed to serve the best interest of our entire population by accelerating our progress towards sustainable transportation. Well, that does it for the 2021 Rewind. What electrification news would make your list? Sound off in the comments below. If you found some value in this segment, please consider sharing it, and if you like, subscribe, or follow along on my social media accounts, I'll be sure to keep doing my best. Oh wait, you want more? Well, you don't have to ask me twice. Now is as good a time as any to quickly recap the first full year of the Miss GoElectric channel. I've been overwhelmed by the opportunities to learn, contribute, and grow in 2021. First and foremost, thanks to all of you for your support here on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. I'd also like to express my gratitude to podcasters, writers, industry experts, media representatives, and companies who extended invitations, amplification, and sponsorship. I want to give a special thanks to my best friends, Renee and Nate, for all of their help and encouragement. To Ryan at the Kilowatts for inviting me to participate in the Charge Across America EV Rally. I can't thank the guys enough at Inside EVs for their inclusion and camaraderie. Lastly, and most importantly, I could not do this without my producer, Tim. The words thank you seem insufficient, but I am forever grateful for your contributions. Well, I hope you all have a spectacular new year, and kicking off 2022, don't forget to drive, fly, ride. Go electric.